On a Monday night about 30 years ago, the phone rang, and it was the leader of my local religious congregation calling, and he was asking me to speak in church on Sunday. I said, no problem, I'd be happy to. I'm thinking faith, hope, charity. And then Frank throws me a curveball. At the time, I was a single mom, owning a business, and with a oldest daughter who was making all sorts of horrible life choices. And he said, you have more stress in your life than most people do, and you seem to deal with it better than most people do. I want you to share how you deal with stress within a gospel perspective. And immediately, I knew where that had to go. And so when we hung up, I went and pulled my 2 younger daughters that still were at home aside, and I said, Frank called and asked me to speak in church on Sunday, and they said, so what else is new? I said, I am going to need to make reference to the abuse I experienced growing up. Are you okay with that? Nobody talked about the sexual abuse of children at that time, and I was going to announce it in front of 200 people they had known their entire lives. But they said they were okay with it. And so Sunday came, and I started by making reference to the stresses that we all experience on a daily basis, and then said there are uncommon stresses in our lives: divorce, delinquent children, health issues, having been sexually abused as a child, and a couple of others, and went on to say, I've experienced all of these, and these are the strategies that have helped me to deal with them. Afterwards, I had 3 women come up to me. 2 laid their head on my shoulder and individually, amidst their tears, said, I thought I was the only one. The 3rd one just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed, and I knew, and she knew that I knew. That was the day that I knew that even though my hope and my healing was not yet complete, that I had an obligation to reach back to those who did not yet know it was possible and light the way forward for them. And that's when my journey to help others began. Over the years, I've worked with all sorts of men and women in all sorts of situations. But the one thing that has allowed me to help people is that because I am so open about my experience, they trust me. I'm a safe place for them to share that which they've never shared with anybody else. The most powerful example of that came after a networking meeting. And a man that I knew from the meeting pulled me aside. And he was retired military, special forces, everything that you would expect from a special forces individual. He was a tough guy. And with tears in his eyes, he told me that he had been sexually abused as a young boy, and that he had never told a soul. I was so grateful that he was able to trust me enough to share with me what he had not been able to share with anybody else. This is my passion, this is my mission, is to create a safe place where people can share that which they have kept buried and locked up and chained for decades, and help them find a path to release that pain and to find freedom, emotional freedom from everything that has bound them to that past, everything that they have kept hidden. I am so grateful for the opportunity that I have to share my story with others and create a safe place for them to share their stories, that their healing can begin. What is your story? If you need a safe place to share it, you know where to find me.